good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever the time is where you are. I am Chris Sweetsleaf and welcome back to Studio Madness. Apologies that it's been so long. Yes, I know it's been over a year. My fault entirely. I was busy with work and other things, but now, like many other people across the globe, suddenly we're not very busy. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're watching this video months or even years in the future, just Google coronavirus 2020 and it's pandemic. The whole globe was on lockdown for at least a month, maybe two, who knows. Basically, I've had to relocate. I've moved away from London and temporarily moved in with my other half. My girlfriend lives down by the coast, so I figured, you know, a good time to get away. And I have managed to bring a small amount of studio gear with me. I've got a quick video here I can show you. This is what I'm working with. So I've got a couple of synths, effects units, sound card, microphone, a little kind of preamp, bits and pieces. But basically today what I'm going to attempt to do is show you how to DJ without turntables, a mixer, CDJs, or a controller of sorts. Let me show you what I've got. I've got record box software here, and what I've got is one of these, a MIDI keyboard, which has got some pads and some knobs and a few buttons. And then as long as you've got the drivers installed on your computer, most DJ software, whether it's record box, Serato, or indeed Tractor, they should all have the option to be able to use any external MIDI device. I've assigned some of the buttons to different functions within the controller software. So you've got the deck options, cue, start, stop. I've assigned pitch bend, play, pause, stuff like that. And then also the mixer as well, headphone mix, the mixer cue buttons. And then I've also got the crossfader and the channel faders assigned as well. So I will show you how I've done that now. I've assigned the mod wheel to the crossfader, so it's a nice smooth action and I can get up and down. Because there's no sliders on this particular keyboard. If there were sliders on here, I probably would have set maybe one of the sliders to the crossfader, but instead I've use the mod wheel just because it works quite nicely. I've got the cue buttons set up, so I've got cue for deck A, play and pause, and cue for deck B, and play and pause. And then what else have I assigned? I've assigned these two up here as the channel volume controls. So this one should be, there we go, that's channel A volume control, and the one next to it is then channel B. So I've at least got control of the two channel faders and the crossfader, which is something. Pitch bend, I've got pitch down and up, so then if we use this one it'll be easier to hear, so I can and just kind of speed it up as if you were on a turntable. You'd want to kind of tweak it a bit forwards or a bit backwards just to get it in time. Obviously using this because I don't have any other proper continuous controllers. The knobs are okay, but they're not brilliant. So basically I'm not using any pitch control, anything. It is using sync. What can you do? But it's the best way to do it, really. The other two functions that I've got set up here are filters. And I've actually turned the filters off, so if I turn the filters on, it'll be easier to hear it. A nice kind of warring filter effect going on. And then the other nice things that I have set up on here are, I've got the cue points, the hot cues, and there aren't any buttons left, but there are a whole bunch of keys on the keyboard. So I've got hotkey A, B, C, D, E all set up. If I show you that now. So that is a lot of fun to play with. But what I'll do now, I'll go back to basics and I'll show you how easy it actually was. So this is the MIDI settings window. So first we have to add, so let's add, let's say a cue, and we're going to need 2 of those. And you can see there, so you've got one for deck 1 and one for deck 2. It's a button. Now what you can do is you can go through and try and find which MIDI controller each particular button is on the keyboard, but that could take a while. What's nice is there is a MIDI learn function, so with cue deck 1 selected I can tap the button that I want. So I'm going to tap that one and you can see it's turned up in place. If I click on the second one, so that's the cue for deck 2, and I say I want it there, and then the second it's assigned, it's then ready to use, which is great. The play and stop buttons, so play, pause, and again we'll get 2 of those out, 1 and 2. Again, play, pause. We've still got learn on, that's something to remember. Don't forget that you've still got the learn on, because if you press a button and then press another button, then it will all change the buttons around. So you want to make sure that you only leave learn on when you want it to learn. So I want this button here to be the play stop. So that's 9926. I want that button there to be the play stop for deck 2. I turn off the learn and we can check. There we go. That's starting deck A and that's starting deck B. And then mixer, add. We have a look through here for, let's have a crossfader. And again, learn. I want it to use the modulation wheel because as you can see on the display there, it goes from 0 all the way up to 127, which is normal controller data. That gives you, that's 16-bit. Is that 16-bit or 8-bit? I think it's only 8-bit. But it gives you enough movement basically to go from one side of the crossfader all the way to the other, and means that I can use a nice smooth action that is on the mod wheel, which is great. If you don't have an external sound card, then routing the audio can be tricky. So if we take a look at the audio options, obviously if you only have the internal sound card, then you only have the left and the right channels to deal with. What you can do is set the master output to the left channel and the headphone output to the right channel, and then split the output using something like that. So you've got a mini jack to dual phono. So then you could have one side as your headphone out and the other side as, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's a possibility. In my setup, I've got a Focusrite Scarlett 6i6 and the master output I can just send straight to the master. The main outputs of line 1 and 2, which is great. Headphone outputs, interestingly enough, you can set the headphone outputs to what it calls here the DAW outputs. So these are like the individual outputs from within the software. If I can bring up my Scarlett software, you'd see. So monitor outputs, so obviously I want the main mix to come out of the monitors, and then these are what I can assign for the headphones. So headphone left and right, I've got assigned to DAW 9 and DAW 10 outputs, which are assignable outputs from the software. So that means that basically once I hit the cue buttons, whichever deck that I'm cueing, I can then hear coming out of the headphones, which means we can almost use it like a proper setup. What I'm going to do now is I will just load up, because we've only got a few buttons assigned, I'm going to load up the configuration that I've had previously, which has got all of the buttons that's needed. There we go, and they're all up there. You might, with the audio settings, you might have to play around a little bit until you can find where the right configuration is for the headphones to get it to come out properly with the cue. Here I've just got the cue buttons assigned to these two here, so that button there for deck 1, that one for deck 2, and then load as well. So whichever track that I want to load, if I say we'll go on to that one, we'll say we'll load that into deck B. That's there. We'll go back to persistence and load that into deck A. So this knob here I've set to the headphone Q so that I can go between either Q output or master output. Something to be aware of when you're assigning that and you're trying to get the headphones working. Make sure that it is set all the way over to Q, because otherwise you'll hear everything at the same time and won't be able to work out why the headphone output isn't working properly. So we've got the Q output there. I'm going to use a couple of my own tracks because, well, why not? And also to save copyright. Couple of tracks here, I Have No Idea and Persistence by LEDJ, otherwise now known as Drewzilla, and myself, Sweetsleaf. So I'm just going to do a quick bit of mixing just to show you how it can work. Hopefully the idea is that because we're all in lockdown, I'm going to attempt to do some live DJ sets, hopefully both here on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. Hopefully, you know, a bit of both. But for now, I'm going to show you how this can work. Crossfader working nicely. This just to bring up the channel fader. So there you go, that is how to DJ without turntables, a mixer, CDJs, or a controller. Right, this is a controller, but you know, if you have a random MIDI keyboard set around, lots of buttons, knobs, sliders, you can use that if you don't have anything else. And obviously also one thing you have to note is to make sure that when your tracks get analysed, they analyse at the correct BPM and not half time. This one down here is analysed at 87.5, which is half of 175. But yeah, these two tracks are I Have No Idea and Persistence. They've been around for a while. Myself and Drewzilla made these many years ago. If I get the time, which hopefully I will do now, I might actually sit down, finish one of these off, get some mastered copies thrown out, and possibly put them up for download. But yes, thank you for sticking with me for this Studio Madness. Keep an eye on the website down below. I will have some live streams coming up hopefully in the next couple of days, because boredom will ensue. Still, there you are. Thanks for watching. Till next time.